Right now, you can walk into a building, sit in a chair, and have a stranger fix a broken tooth in under an hour. For almost all of human history, that same broken tooth was a countdown. No painkiller strong enough to matter. No way to stop an infection once it started. Just a slow-spreading ache that could climb from your jaw into your bloodstream and eventually kill you. And it happened constantly. Skeletal remains from ancient populations show tooth decay, and abscesses were brutally common long before sugar, long before modern diets. Because even hard grains and gritty ancient bread wore teeth down fast, cracking enamel and exposing nerve long before old age ever caught up with anyone. So how did ancient humans survive one of the most ordinary, most agonizing threats to their own bodies, with nothing we'd recognize as dentistry? Start with why teeth failed so often, because it wasn't really about hygiene. Ancient diets were often harder on teeth than modern ones, not softer. Stone-ground grain left tiny particles of grit baked into every loaf of bread, and that grit acted like sandpaper, wearing down enamel with every bite over a lifetime. Once enamel wore through, the sensitive inner layer of the tooth was exposed directly to bacteria, and a cavity that started small had no way to heal itself. It only grew. Left untreated, a cavity reaches the nerve, and that's when a toothache stops being an inconvenience and becomes something genuinely dangerous. Bacteria can travel from an infected tooth into the jawbone, forming an abscess, a pocket of infection that swells, throbs, and, without any way to drain it, can spread into surrounding tissue and eventually into the bloodstream itself. Before antibiotics existed, a dental abscess could genuinely be fatal, and historians studying pre-modern mortality records have found dental infection listed as a real, non-trivial cause of death. Ancient people were not oblivious to any of this, and the archaeological record shows something that surprises most people. Real, functional dentistry attempts stretching back much further than most assume. A set of drilled molars found in a Neolithic graveyard in Pakistan, dated to around 7000 BC, show precisely bored holes into the enamel, almost certainly created using a bow drill, the same tool used at the time for woodworking and fire starting, repurposed to remove decayed material from a living tooth. That's not a guess or a folk remedy. The drilling shows clear technical skill, consistent hole placement, and evidence the patient survived the procedure and continued using the tooth afterward, meaning someone, 9,000 years ago, had already worked out that you could physically remove the rotten part of a tooth to relieve the pain, using nothing but a hand-spun drill, and presumably enormous patience from the person on the receiving end. Across different ancient civilizations, remarkably similar approaches to tooth pain developed independently, each solving the same basic problem with the tools and materials they had on hand. Ancient Egyptian medical texts describe pastes made from ground herbs, honey, and minerals applied directly to a painful tooth or gum, some of which modern analysis has shown to have genuine antibacterial or anti-inflammatory properties, not just placebo comfort. In ancient China, acupuncture-based approaches to dental pain appear in some of the earliest medical texts, using specific needle points believed to interrupt pain signals. An approach modern researchers have found does measurably reduce perceived pain in some dental contexts, even without a full understanding of why. Traditional Ayurvedic medicine in India developed its own extensive tradition of oral care, including herbal tooth powders and cleaning sticks from specific trees, with natural antibacterial compounds in their bark, used for daily prevention rather than only emergency treatment. Prevention, in fact, was where a huge amount of ancient ingenuity concentrated, because everyone involved understood that stopping a problem before it started beat trying to treat it once the pain set in. Chewing sticks, small twigs from specific trees, frayed at one end into a brush-like texture, appear independently across Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, some from tree species later confirmed by modern chemistry to contain natural antibacterial and anti-plaque compounds, meaning ancient people had, through trial and observation alone, identified genuinely effective toothbrush and toothpaste-in-one materials thousands of years before a single dentist existed. The Egyptians developed one of the earliest known toothpaste-like pastes, combining ingredients like crushed rock salt, mint, dried iris flower, and pepper into an abrasive, breath-freshening mixture applied with a frayed twig or cloth. It wasn't gentle by modern standards. Some versions were abrasive enough to wear at enamel with heavy use. But it represented a genuine, repeated daily practice built specifically around oral health, not incidental hygiene. When prevention failed and a tooth had to come out entirely, ancient extraction techniques ranged from crude to genuinely clever. Simple cases were handled with pliers-like tools, sometimes purpose-built, sometimes repurposed from other trades, used to physically work a rotten tooth loose and pull it free. A procedure that was, by every account, excruciating without anesthesia, but often less painful than living with the alternative. More sophisticated ancient dental work has also survived. Etruscan dental appliances from over 2,500 years ago show gold wire and metal bands used to stabilize loose teeth or hold a replacement tooth in place, essentially an early dental bridge. Crafted with a level of metalworking precision that implies dedicated craftspeople specializing specifically in this work, not general physicians dabbling in teeth as one problem among many. Pain relief itself, while nothing like modern anesthesia, wasn't purely fatalistic either. Various ancient cultures used plant-based substances with genuine analgesic or numbing properties. Certain barks, roots, and extracts capable of producing mild local numbing or dulling sensation, chewed directly or applied to the gum near the painful tooth. None of it came close to eliminating the pain of a drill or an extraction the way modern anesthesia does, but it represented real attempts at mitigation, built from the same slow accumulation of trial, memory, and observation behind every other piece of ancient medicine. The real turning point didn't arrive until remarkably recently in the broader scope of human history. Effective anesthesia for dental work only became available in the mid-19th century when the use of ether and later nitric oxide transformed extraction from a terrifying ordeal into something patients could genuinely tolerate. Antibiotics, arriving decades later still, finally gave doctors a way to treat the infections that had, for nearly all of human history, been the actual killer hiding behind an ordinary toothache. For the overwhelming majority of the time humans have had teeth, an abscess was something you endured, treated as best anyone could, or, in the worst cases, simply died from. Trace the whole arc back, and the story of surviving a toothache is really a story about people refusing to accept pain as something purely to be endured, even when they had almost no tools to fight it with. A bow drill operator 9,000 years ago, an Egyptian mixing herbs into a paste, a craftsman wiring a loose tooth into place with gold wire. None of them understood bacteria. None of them had anesthesia worth the name. And all of them tried anyway, leaving behind just enough evidence, tooth by tooth, for us to know they never simply gave up. The next time a dentist numbs your gum before touching a single instrument to your tooth, that small mercy is the end of a 9,000-year argument against giving up on pain you can't yet explain.